Honourable Nathan Guy.
Mr Chair, I'd just like to start off remembering the people of Christchurch. We're a month on from the terrible earthquake of the 22nd of February, and I think the whole House offers the support of Canterbury getting back on its feet, particularly those residents of Christchurch and those businesses. And the reason I raise that is that we've just over the last week we've had the memorial service down there in Hagley Park, and Internal Affairs were directly involved through the Visits and Ceremonial Office of organising that event, and I think they did a fantastic job. If you went out to the private sector and said organise an event in a park in the vicinity of 90 to 100,000 people, and you've got a bit over a sort of couple of weeks to do it, they'd go into panic mode. The Visits and Ceremonial Office did a fantastic job, in my opinion. And if you think just over the hill from Christchurch and Pike River, the terrible loss that occurred there, VCO stepped up. They organised that memorial service for that community, and that was difficult for them to organise because of the logistics and the location. Once again, they stepped up and did a fantastic job. If you think about Internal Affairs, operates across 6 folks, 6 ministers, close to $230 million expenditure over the 09-10 period. It encompasses citizens, government, and also community. And there's a lot that goes on in Internal Affairs that a lot of people don't necessarily realise happens. But if you think about it, we've rolled out the new passport. That gets into 50 countries visa-free. It has 50 security features. Also, we've got the very high-performing births, deaths and marriages trusted by New Zealanders. And we're also talking about New Zealand citizenship, 20 to 30,000 citizens heading through that process, trusted by a whole lot of New Zealanders. I was interested in listening to the address from Labor, because I would have thought that they would have talked about the integration of library and archives into the Department of Internal Affairs, because that for them was a huge issue last year. But we didn't even hear anything about that, and that integration has gone fantastically well. And it's interesting, in the government administration report that's in front of the House today, they talk about in the report the powers of both the Chief Archivist and National Librarian are enshrined in statute. And that was a huge concern from the opposition, and I believe the integration has gone fantastically well. And I look forward to welcoming the new National Librarian who's going to start in early May, William McNaught. He comes into this new, that's right, he comes into this new role highly respected. He was the former manager of Pukariki Library Visitor Information Centre in New Plymouth. In fact, I visited there over the summer holidays and I was really impressed. I look forward to establishing a great working relationship with Mr McNaught. I also look forward to carrying on the ongoing strong working relationship that I have with the Chief Archivist, who was in an acting role and now been appointed into a permanent role, and that of course is Greg Golding. So nothing from our opposition about the integration and what was a big issue last year, where they ran around and said it wasn't going to work. And of course we have a real focus on frontline services, combining back office functions, and this integration is just a very important part of that. And I note from the PSA, when we announced the merger, the Public Service Association, they welcomed the protection of these statutory roles and the efforts of this government to reduce fragmentation in the public sector. That's right, Mr Carter. PSA welcomed it. Welcomed it.
What about the opposition?
Oh, well, the opposition have got their heads in the clouds, and we just heard from the member of Rimutaka have his rant, and he should be particularly worried about the new National Party candidate selected out there, Jonathan Fletcher. Mr Hipkins should get used to this sound, because that's what Mr Fletcher has been doing today, knocking on doors and getting a fantastic response out in the Rimutaka electorate. So it's probably only a matter of time, a few months, before Mr Hipkins says goodbye to this place. The other important thing that I wish to raise is the Department of Internal Affairs focus on digital information. Mr Chair.
Call the Honourable Nathan Guy.
And we've got a real focus ensuring that all of the information that the Department of Internal Affairs have is more accessible to the public of New Zealand, and that suits where the government's focus is on rolling out ultra-fast broadband to ultimately every home in New Zealand. And there are many fantastic areas of digitisation and technology that's happening in internal affairs. Just in the iGov log-on, where there was recently the millionth log-on occurred.
Order. I'm sorry to interrupt the member, but the time for this debate has expired. So the question now is that clauses 1 to 11, schedules 1 to 5 stand apart. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary opinion will say no. The ayes have it. I will report the appropriation 2009-10 financial review bill without amendment.
Well done, Mr. Chair. Well, Chair. Are you doing that now? Why don't we stay in committee for the when we go back? I apologise.
The House is resumed, Mr. Chairman.
Mr Speaker, the committee has considered the appropriation 2009-10 financial review bill and reports it without amendment. Mr Speaker, I move that the report be adopted.
The question is that the report be adopted. Those of that opinion will say aye. For the contrary, no. The ayes have it. This bill is set down for third reading forthwith.
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable John Carter.
Mr Speaker, I move that the appropriation 2009-2010 financial review bill be now read a third time.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Appropriation 2009-10 financial review bill, third